So, here's the thing about the Green Bay Packers. They're not exactly the kind of franchise that just throws caution or draft picks to the wind. This is a house that Bart Starr, Brett Favre, and Aaron Rodgers built. Tradition runs deep in chaos, not usually on the menu, in Green Bay. But apparently, even the steadiest hands in the league can crack when the promise of a generational quarterback dangles just out of reach. Because now, the Packers want Shedeur Sanders. Badly. And no, this isn't just a casual inquiry or some polite front office conversation. Green Bay has reportedly gone full thirst mode, offering not one, not two, but multiple first-round picks and established veteran players just to get a seat at the Shedeur table. It's an unprecedented move.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
A franchise that typically builds through draft is ready to go all in for a rookie who hasn't even taken a regular season NFL snap. And over in Cleveland, things are, well, melting down. Because while Shedeur Sanders may technically be a Cleveland Brown right now, you wouldn't know it from how he's been treated. Head coach Kevin Stefanski seemed almost allergic to the idea of letting Shedeur touch the field. Despite the Browns' offense sputtering like a car with 3 flat tires, Stefanski kept the young quarterback on the bench. Weeks passed. The media asked questions. The fans got loud. And still no Sanders. And then Green Bay picked up the phone. Now Stefanski? Absolutely floored. Sources say he was stunned when he heard Green Bay's offer. The rest of the locker room? Basically ready to riot. Players reportedly started organizing meetings without the coaching staff. Morale dropped. Tension spiked. It was like watching a slow-motion implosion. A quarterback with star power right there on the bench, while the team circled the drain. Make it make sense. And it gets better, or worse, depending on how much chaos you can handle in one news cycle. Enter Jimmy Haslam, the Browns owner, a man who, love him or loathe him, has put serious capital into Shedeur Sanders. We're talking guaranteed money, marketing deals, and a PR strategy that practically screamed face of the franchise. Haslam was never subtle about his intentions. Shedeur wasn't just a quarterback. He was a brand, an investment, and possibly the future of the franchise. So when Stefanski refused to play him, it wasn't just stubborn. It was insubordination, and in a plot twist worthy of a prestige HBO drama. The head coach was fired. Just like that. Gone. Let's be honest. The second Green Bay got involved, the situation went from awkward to catastrophic. And suddenly, this wasn't just about playing time or locker room dynamics. This was a full-blown identity crisis for Cleveland Browns. Because now the entire football world is asking, how did it get this bad? Let's rewind for a second. Shedeur Sanders came into the league with more buzz than a Vegas slot machine. The son of Deion Primetime Sanders, he wasn't just another draft prospect. He had the arm, the IQ, the charisma, and the following. Millions of eyes were already on him before he even took a preseason snap. Scouts called him poised. Teammates called him a leader. The internet? Obsessed. So when the Browns scooped him up, it felt like a turning point. A franchise finally doing something right. But instead of building around Sanders, they parked him, week after week, even as the offense struggled to put up points, even as fans begged for a spark. And for what? To protect a fragile coaching ego? Let's not sugarcoat it. Stefanski's decision to bench Shedeur became the talking point in Cleveland sports. Analysts dragged it. Former players questioned it. Twitter was a war zone. And meanwhile, Shedeur, cool as ever, posting cryptic Instagram stories, staying locked in during practice, hyping his teammates from the sidelines. He said nothing, but his silence was louder than any quote. And that's part of the magic, isn't it? The guy's got poise under pressure that most veterans would kill for. While the media circus was spinning and the team was spiraling, he kept it clean. No diva behavior. No passive-aggressive tweets. Just focus. Which is exactly what makes Green Bay's pursuit so juicy. See, the Packers are desperate for their next era-defining quarterback. Jordan Love was supposed to be that guy, but the jury's still out. And with an aging roster and a fan base used to generational talent under center, the pressure to deliver is real. So when they saw what was happening in Cleveland, a young phenom being wasted, they didn't hesitate. They backed up the truck. Picks, players, the works. And honestly, can you blame them? We're talking about a quarterback who already has more cultural capital than half the league. Merchandise, sponsorships, a built-in fan base. Shedeur Sanders isn't just a player. He's a walking business model. And in today's NFL, that matters. Ratings, revenue, ticket sales, this isn't just football anymore. It's entertainment. It's commerce. And yet, somehow, the Browns couldn't see the forest through the dysfunction. By the time Stefanski was ousted, the damage was done. The locker room was fractured. The coaching staff was in turmoil. The fan base? Utterly fed up. They didn't just want Shedeur on the field. They needed him. He represented hope, a new chapter. And instead, they got petty politics and inexplicable delays. And still, through it all, Shedeur stayed ready. Sources say he's been grinding in practice, running scout team with precision, studying film like he's already the starter. Players have praised his leadership, his work ethic, his ability to command a huddle. And as the Browns scramble to salvage their season, he's finally expected to make his debut. But here's the kicker. Even with Stefanski gone, the trade talks haven't stopped. Green Bay is still knocking. Hard. And every day the saga drags on, the pressure builds. Do the Browns bet it all on Sanders and build around him? Or do they take the King's ransom and walk away? It's a franchise-defining decision. And whatever choice they make, the ripple effects will be felt for years. Because this isn't just about one player. This is about what happens when talent, ego, and ambition collide in the NFL's high-stakes pressure cooker. It's about front offices who can't get on the same page. Coaches who play it safe until it costs them everything. Owners chasing legacy. And a league where the next big thing can either change your future or burn your house down. Right now. Shedeur Sanders sits at the center of it all. The eye of the storm. And whether he ends up staying in Cleveland or heading to Green Bay in a blockbuster trade, one thing's for sure. This kid's not just a future. He's a spark that just blew the league wide open. So, what do you think? Should the Browns hold a line and finally build around their young star? Or cash in while his value's sky high? Is Green Bay being brilliant or reckless? And is Shedeur Sanders the next face of the league? Or just the latest pawn in a never-ending NFL power struggle? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit that subscribe button if you love a little chaos with your football. And stay tuned, because something tells me this story, it's far from over. We are living through one of the most bizarre quarterback sagas in recent NFL memory. Like, this isn't just messy. Is anyone even driving this bus? Levels of dysfunction. And the fact that it's all orbiting around a rookie, that tells you everything you need to know about the kind of pressure cooker storm Shedeur Sanders walked into. Because here's the real tea. This was never just about football. From the moment Shedeur got drafted, this was a branding war, a power play, a boardroom tug-of-war dressed in shoulder pads. You got a legacy, kid. Media trained since the cradle, carrying Dion's last name and prime swagger, walking into a franchise that's never quite figured out how to handle star power. The Cleveland Browns are historically allergic to nice things. Just facts. So when Shedeur arrived with the weight of expectations and the gleam of stardom, it was always going to rattle cages. What nobody expected was how hard Kevin Stefanski would resist it. Like, imagine sitting on a gold bar during a recession and refusing to cash it in. That's basically what Stefanski did. Maybe it was pride. Maybe it was fear. Maybe he really believed that rolling with a mid-tier journeyman quarterback and ignoring the hype was a safe call. But in the NFL, playing it safe can get you fired faster than taking a big swing and missing. And now, well, he's unemployed, and Shedeur is still standing. But let's not pretend Stefanski was the only problem. What the saga exposed was something way deeper. Organizational dysfunction at every level. This wasn't just a coaching issue. It was a full-blown identity crisis. Who's in charge? What's the plan? Are we rebuilding, competing, or just spiraling for vibes? Because the Browns didn't just mishandle a quarterback. They mishandled the moment. They had the rookie with the talent, the charisma, the marketability. The cameras were already rolling. This could have been the next Mahomes-style glow-up. Instead, it was radio silence, forced humility, and Shedeur answering interview questions like, "I just want to help the team win," while knowing full well that he was being iced out of crumbling offense. It's wild. Meanwhile, over in Green Bay, things are eerily different. The Packers are not known for chaos. They're calculated. Old school. Their quarterback pipeline is practically mythological. Far past the torch to Rodgers. Rodgers to Love. But Love hasn't lit the fire quite like they hoped. Not that he's been terrible, but the electricity isn't there. The magic isn't there. And then they see Shedeur, sitting on the bench in Cleveland, like a perfectly wrapped Christmas gift in a house with no tree. Can you blame them for wanting to pounce? The reports say they're ready to part ways with multiple first-rounders. That's not a nudge. That's not even a "we're interested." That's a full-blown Hail Mary with a side of desperation. The kind of offer you only make if you truly believe this guy could be the one. A franchise changer. A ticket to the Super Bowl. And to the front page of every sports site for the next decade. And yet, Cleveland hesitates. You can almost hear the gears grinding in Jimmy Haslam's brain. On one hand, he's backed Shedeur with money, media attention, and franchise messaging. On the other, that trade package is insane. He'd be selling high. Before Shedeur's even played a snap. There's a twisted logic to that. Like flipping a rare comic book before it's graded. Maximum profit, minimal risk. But what happens if Shedeur is that dude? What if Green Bay takes him and suddenly it's highlight reels every Sunday, MVP talk by week 10, and Lambeau Field renamed Primeville? That's not just a loss. That's a haunting. You can't undo that kind of mistake. Ask Chicago about Mahomes. And let's talk about the fans. Oh, the fans. Cleveland's fan base has been through it. They've lived through heartbreaks, embarrassments, quarterback carousels, and rebuilds that never seem to rebuild anything. So when they saw Shedeur, poised, athletic, articulate, focused, it was like watching the sun rise over a landfill. Finally, something to believe in. Someone who felt like a star. And then nothing. Weeks of nothing. Quarterbacks with noodle arms getting blown out on national TV. Offensive schemes that looked like they were drawn in crayon. And through it all, Sanders pacing the sideline, helmet in hand, eyes locked in. If you think fans didn't notice that, you don't understand Cleveland. They're not just mad. They're insulted. It's like someone brought cake to the party and then said, "You can look, but no eating." And now, with Stefanski gone and the front office doing a 24/7 balancing act between panic and pride, the fans are demanding answers. Will Shedeur finally get the start? Will the Browns commit to the rebuild around him? Or will they blink, take the Green Bay offer, and roll the dice on another decade of mediocrity? The worst part? Nobody knows. Even insiders are confused. The leaks are conflicting. One day it's Cleveland's not trading him under any circumstances. The next day its talks are heating up and nearing final stages. It's NFL spin cycle madness. Everyone's guessing. Everyone's hedging. Except Shedeur. He's still showing up. Still practicing like a pro. Still doing interviews that are somehow both humble and surgical. That's the thing about this kid. He gets the game behind the game. He knows when to speak. He knows when to stay quiet. And that social media presence? It's like a chessboard. Strategic likes. Quiet reposts. Subtle nods to the culture. Everything says, "I'm ready. You decide how this ends." And honestly, he's got all the leverage. Let's say he starts for Cleveland next week and balls out. That's vindication. For him. For the fans. For Haslam. Stefanski becomes a cautionary tale, and Sanders becomes a legend in the making. Finally, the Browns might have their guy, but if the front office hesitates, or worse, trades him, everything flips. Green Bay gets the star. The Browns get what? Draft picks? Maybe a safety and a wide out with 2 good seasons left? That's not enough. That's never enough. If Sanders becomes elite in Wisconsin, Cleveland becomes a meme. Again. Permanently. And it's not just about winning games. It's about brand power, jersey sales, national attention, prime time scheduling. Quarterbacks make franchises. Ask Cincinnati before and after Joe Burrow. Ask Buffalo before and after Josh Allen. There's a reason teams are selling the farm for young QB talent. Because in this league, if you don't have a star under center, you're playing a different sport. So here we are, one franchise trying to hold on to a spark that could ignite everything, and another franchise ready to throw its entire future on the table to steal it. And in the middle, a 21-year-old quarterback with a famous last name and the calm demeanor of a 10-year veteran, waiting to see which team actually believes in him enough to let him cook. We've seen quarterback controversies before, but this is cinema. This is Shakespeare in cleats. This is Game of Thrones, NFL edition, with fewer dragons and more clipboard drama. So now, the ball's in Cleveland's court. Do they double down and finally let Shedeur take the reins? Or do they blink and let Green Bay rewrite history? Whatever happens, one thing is clear. This isn't just about one player. It's about how the NFL is changing. Talent isn't enough. You need star power, leadership, maturity, a story. And Shedeur Sanders? He is the story. So now the Browns are standing at the edge of the cliff, toes dangling over the abyss, while the football world watches with popcorn in hand, just begging them to either jump or pull the greatest Uno reverse in franchise history. And the tension isn't just internal anymore. It's league-wide. Owners are whispering. GMs are snooping. Agents are circling. Everyone wants to know what Cleveland's going to do with Shedeur Sanders. Because this is no longer about one team making a trade. This is about setting a precedent. If Cleveland trades away a rookie quarterback with elite potential before he even starts a single game, what does that say about every other team trying to build through the draft? What does it say to players? Because let's be honest, the league talks. Locker rooms are like high school cafeterias with million-dollar salaries. If you're a young player watching this unfold, you're probably wondering, if that guy, with all the tools, all the polish, and all the hype, can't get a chance to prove himself, what chance do I have? That kind of perception? Dangerous. It chips away at the league's most sacred myth, that if you're good enough, you will get your shot. And then there's Green Bay, leaning against a metaphorical doorway like the smooth-talking villain in a teen movie, waiting for the star quarterback to realize he's been stuck with the wrong team the whole time. It's almost poetic. They're not begging. They're not pleading. They're just sitting there, cool as ever, offering a future filled with stability, structure, and a franchise that knows exactly what to do with a gifted passer. But while the headlines focus on the trade drama, something quieter, something even bigger, is happening in the background. Shedeur Sanders is growing into a myth. Every day he doesn't play, the legend expands. Think about it. The less we see of him, the more we imagine. Every clip from practice? Dissected. Every tweet? Parsed like a government memo. Every slightly raised eyebrow during press conferences? Replayed in slow-mo on fan accounts. He's become Schrodinger's quarterback, both the savior and the mystery box, depending on which way you tilt your screen. And this isn't accidental. This is masterclass media navigation. While other rookies are out here dropping nervous sound bites and struggle with the spotlight, Shedeur is out here cultivating mystique. It's very young Tom Brady with a social media team. He says just enough to seem mature, but never so much that he becomes overexposed. And let's not ignore the elephant in the room. His last name is Sanders. This isn't some no-name prospect trying to claw his way into relevance. He grew up in football royalty. His father is Deion Sanders, one of the flashiest, fiercest, and most competitive athletes in sports history. That pressure, that legacy, it's baked in. Most people would buckle under it. But Shedeur, he wears it like designer cologne. Quiet confidence, zero desperation. That poise is why scouts are salivating. It's not just that he can throw a deep out or make a blitz read. It's that he handles pressure like it's baked into his DNA, which is exactly why this whole situation is so backwards. You got this calm, camera-ready, mentally locked-in QB with top-tier skills sitting on the bench, while a mid-performing offense flails every Sunday. It's like having Michael Jordan in the locker room and making him fold towels, because he's still learning the system. It's absurd. It's borderline malpractice. And the NFL is noticing. quietly but intensely. Other teams are watching to see if Cleveland blinks, because if they do, the feeding frenzy begins. Green Bay might be the loudest suitor, but don't think they're the only one. There are at least a dozen franchises who would trade half their war chest just to get meeting with Shedeur's camp. And if Cleveland lets him go, good luck surviving that backlash. Because here's the thing about Browns fans. They don't forget. They've had too many heartbreaks to be generous. From a quarterback factory graveyard to the infamous "we passed on that guy" draft boards, every mistake is cataloged, time-stamped, and replayed during every painful playoff miss. If Shedeur goes on to become elite somewhere else, that's not just another bust. That's an era-defining failure. Imagine the legacy. Remember when Cleveland had Shedeur Sanders and traded him before he ever started? Wild times. You'll hear that on every sports show for the next 20 years. But if, and it's a big if, they stay the course, if they actually hand the reins and say, "This is your team now," that's a different story. Then we're talking redemption arc. Then we're talking resurrection. The fan base gets fired up. The locker room gets behind a new leader. The media flips the narrative from dysfunction to destiny. The city becomes electric with the possibility of finally turning the page. And you know what? Shedeur is ready for that moment. That's the craziest part of this whole saga. The guy hasn't played a snap, and yet by every account, coaches, teammates, analysts, he's already carrying himself like a 10-year vet. Watching film late, leading practice huddles, communicating with the O-line like he's been there for years. He's not hoping for a shot. He's waiting for the inevitable. And here's where it gets cinematic. What if that shot comes next week? What if the Browns announce him as a starter? Home game, prime time, lights blazing. You know what that crowd's going to sound like? You know what the ratings are going to look like? Through the roof. Because the NFL is at its core a storytelling machine. And right now, Shedeur Sanders is the plot twist everyone is waiting for. If he steps on that field and delivers even a hint of greatness, one beautiful deep ball, one 80-yard drive, one scramble that turns into a touchdown, it's over. All the doubt, all the hesitation, all the noise, gone. The Browns don't just keep their quarterback, they keep their future. But if they don't start him, if they play coy or worse, if they send him packing for a trade package and a promise, they are writing their own eulogy. Because there are moments in sports that you cannot walk back, and this is one of them. So here's the real question. Are the Browns going to finally embrace the chaos and ride the wave into a new era, or are they going to fumble the one good thing they've had in years because of fear and mismanagement? It's a franchise-defining moment. No hyperbole. And let's be honest, this isn't even about Cleveland or Green Bay anymore. This is about how every team handles pressure. About what happens when an unstoppable force meets a wildly immovable organization. It's about whether the NFL has learned anything from its past, or if we're just doomed to watch young talent rot while teams cling to systems that stopped working a decade ago. But one thing is absolutely certain. Wherever Shedeur Sanders ends up, he's bringing the storm with him. So buckle up, and while you're here, tell me what you think down in the comments. Does Shedeur stay in Cleveland and save the franchise? Or is Green Bay about to pull off one of the wildest steals in modern NFL history? Hit subscribe if you're here for the drama, the plot twists, and the beautiful disaster that is professional football. Because if this league is good at anything, it's turning Sunday afternoon games into Shakespearean tragedy with bonus touchdowns. And something tells me the next act is going to be insane.